What's up, guys? Diplex here again. Welcome back to Men of War Assault Squad 2 and RobZ Realism Mod. Hope everyone's had a good week so far. Coming up on the weekend, and do excuse my whack-ass upload schedule. It's pretty much non-existent. When I get one working, you will know. I'm not going to make any promises until that point. Before you know it, I'm going to be back to uploading this kind of stuff daily, so just be patient and do excuse the lack of videos recently. There's always some stupid underlying reason, which really isn't an excuse, but, you know, stuff can have that effect on you sometimes. Anyhow, what are we doing today? Well, today we're doing the, Soviet summer offensive of 1944, known as Operation Bagration or Operation Bagration, however you want to pronounce it. It went on for about 3 months, I think, started late June, ended August. And what is really interesting is the numbers, right? Like, this is where things get really brutal, and I hope you can reflect on the results of this whole offensive here today watching this video, simply by enjoying the pure brutality of it. I think we will be able to reflect some of the outcome, or the outcomes, or some of the numbers, really, in the way it looked once it was all done here today in this video. You catch my drift, you know what I'm saying. So anyway, the Germans lost about 25,000 men in terms of lives during these months of fighting. Overall, the entire offensive resulted in the entire complete destruction and neutralization, rather, of the German Army Group Center. It wasn't due to casualties, you know, killed and wounded. It was mainly due to prisoners of war, right? The Soviets used so many tanks and infantry that they could surround entire divisions and army corps and whatnot. It basically resulted in hundreds of thousands of Germans being captured during the summer, turned prisoners of war, which is, I suppose, kind of positive if you think about it in a way, because, I mean, the Soviets could have been more cruel, as sort of like an act of revenge for everything that the Germans had done in their motherland during the previous years. But anyway, kindness aside, or however you want to put it, what is really, really brutally fascinating is how many casualties the Soviets took, and not only in infantry, but also armored vehicles and main battle tanks. Let's start with the vehicles, which I find is just insane. Now, if you look at the deployment numbers, the actual number of lost tanks and armored vehicles almost match the initial numbers of this operation. We're looking at almost 3,000 destroyed Soviet tanks and armored vehicles during this period. It's mind-blowing. It's absolutely insane. When it comes to manpower or infantry on the ground, we're looking at 500,000 men wounded. 500,000. That's 5 times the amount of the German wounded. Of course, no captured, no prisoners of war, really, if you look at it that way. And when it came to Soviets killed, we're looking at almost 200,000, almost 10 times the amount of Germans killed. Yeah, you can gain a lot of ground when you have 1.5 million men up against the roughly 500,000 Germans. And by the way, all of this is available on Wikipedia. I'm not boasting any knowledge in terms of numbers. Stuff like that is nothing I really remember when reading books and stuff. But it's all there to read and behold. It's stunning. I think there wasn't really much of a care for life at this point. They wanted to punch through and get to Germany as quickly as possible. And they did. They did gain a whole lot of ground during these couple of months of fighting. So hopefully today's battle here on this beautiful map that I found sitting around in the RobZ Realism Mod folder will reflect those very numbers and casualties. We have kind of 2 fronts here. We have one here on the left side, which is kind of mainly comprised of this fortified barn or farmhouse. We have a Flak 88. We have a modified Puma with the 75mm pack on it, and I do believe a 120mm mortar here in the back, so a heavy German mortar, which is nice. We do have a lot of foxholes and another 2 75mm pack 40s here in the rear. On the right side, we're looking at a similar setup. More foxholes, lots of infantry in all these foxholes, and another 275mm packs here on the right side. We have a trench line, we have a Pack 36 because it's awesome, and people didn't really stop using equipment even though it was old. If you had it, you used it. Besides, it can take out tracks and lighter vehicles if the Soviets had any, with more trenches here in the front. We've got a lot of Panzerfausts. All the German infantry is like below the surface level, so it has that kind of, that if you've seen the scene from Stalingrad where the Soviet tanks slowly roll up on the entrenched German soldiers in the snow, it's got that, it's cool, it's kind of a feeling. But anyway, this is a different setting and time, of course, but that's what we're going for. We're going for the Germans are on the retreat. They're kind of dug in. We don't really see much offensive power here, mainly defensive power, and let's see how it works out for them. I do want to give you guys a sneak peek here on the second part of this battle that will hopefully be released tomorrow or on Sunday. Once again, I do apologize for not having an upload schedule. I'm doing my best. There's been a few things in the way, but this is what we're going to work with in the next part of this battle. Do look forward to this fight here for this hill. Once again, I have no idea who made this, but kudos to you, sir. This is some beautiful work. Loving the balance here with terrain and gameplay. Anyway, my favorite part of this battle is going to be the visual aspects, and you'll see soon what I'm talking about. Let me know down in the comment section below what you appreciated, and hopefully I can make future battles with what you guys really want to see. I think it's about time now, after so many years and hundreds, if not thousands, of Men of War battles, that we get down to the details to perfect the viewing and gameplay experience, really, when it comes to these battles. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and click start. We are at the point of no return. Let us see what the Soviets bring to the table today, and let us see what the Germans can do to stop this Soviet advance. So we have a T-34 tank platoon moving up here on the far right side here of the German defensive line. I see a T-34-85 in the center and two T-34 43s on either flank of it. Soviet infantry dismounting. That was a nice hit by the 36, but it's going to bounce off. Do pay attention to the smoke and all the explosions and bullet impacts being carried away by the slow wind. I think it's beautiful. It definitely adds this cinematic feel and experience to the whole battle. Oh, let's see if we can see this Panzerfaust in action. That T-34-85 is rolling up slowly. Let's see some German courage. Bring it up, boy, and get it to work. Oh, that 36 is going to penetrate from below somehow. That was a miss, but nonetheless, we're going to see that T-34-85 go down. Tracks down. That's what we were looking for. There goes an AT grenade, and that is going to break down. Oh, that T-34 followed up by a direct hit from one of the 75mm Pack 40s in the rear. The infantry is going to be shook up a bit, but they're going to be fine. So the Soviets have failed to punch through here with the first attack. We have some more T-34s coming up here from the left side, or down the center, really, supported by more infantry. Some of these foxholes are starting to empty out, which is worrying. But we have more infantry further back. Let's have a look here across the gully, or the small valley, and see some of these defensive works in action. That's awesome. Loving to see that Flak 88 in action. And already now we can see some pretty thick smoke plumes rise here in the horizon. Spot 2 KV-85s rolling in right now. With a wave of Russian infantry, or Soviet infantry if you want to be precise. So this is Guards infantry. at a distance, like back here, you can really see the way the visual aspects of this battle shine through and kind of create this almost very cinematic feeling. And I think it's the smoke and fire that is drifting away with the wind that really adds that realistic feeling. You know, during Hollywood shoots and when they're filming all these war movies, they use a lot of fans and wind to create this dynamic turbulence in the actual scene. This feeling of motion and action instead of it just being completely still. And it really has the same effect in this battle. So this is something I'll be tampering with in the future as well, just to get the exact correct weather conditions. Now we're seeing this 75mm, I wouldn't call it a half-track really, but it is essentially a Puma, but not a Puma, because it's got the same 75mm gun that the upgraded Puma had. Of course, you also have the 50mm Puma, but yeah, I don't see the point of it, but it's a unit we've really never used before, so why the hell not? It's gonna fire some HE shells at the Soviet infantry down below. And now we're starting to see more presence here on the left flank. The trenches are starting to open up as well. It's a nice firing line here. Lots of STG-44s. I'm not sure all too many STG-44s would have reached the hands of infantry at this time. I'm positive. I'm positive we'd see a lot during the summer of 1944. So yeah, not all too unlikely. I do create my... I do fill all the areas of the map with squads made up of 10 men, and each squad has like an MG, an assistant gunner. That was a good hit, by the way, on that KV-2. An assistant gunner, a squad leader, riflemen, you know, a AT soldier in this case with a Panzerfaust, and then a few extra submachine guns, or in this case assault rifles, which would be the STG-44. So in some areas you might see more STGs than you see rifles, but that doesn't mean that there is the same amount of STGs elsewhere on the map. There could be more rifles elsewhere, so it's all fairly balanced. It's just not always located in an even manner. Moving over here to the right side again. More armor is rolling up. But so far, the German AT guns back here in the rear are doing an excellent work. So we're starting to see some German trucks with probably wounded, could be munitions as well, supplies of all kinds, moving back during this retreat. These Pak-40s are frequently opening up at the Soviet tanks to hold them back. Now we're starting to see a lot of smoke rise here in the horizon, and it just looks beautiful against that sky background. We got a cook-off. Look at that cook-off. Left side of the screen. That will develop into a nice explosion any second now, and it'll look stunning. Take my word for it, my friend. There we go. Isn't that beautiful? Smoke fills the air. I'm never like... I'll never get used to the visual aspects of this game and all the modifications that come with it. It stuns me every time. So now we've got a small forest fire erupting here as well. Another T-34-43 moving up, supported by the Soviet infantry on the ground. This is just exactly what we want. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a little sneaky screenshot. Let's have a look here at the left side. Oh, we got more tanks down in the gully now. They're moving up. They're advancing on this flak position. The flak is still active. The armored vehicle has been knocked out. One could call it a tank destroyer of some sort. It's a self-propelled gun, to be honest. Two Pak-40s in the rear, still holding the back of this farmhouse position. We're going to see them open up with this T-34-85 as soon as it's envisioned. They might be swapping ammunition types right now. They've probably been firing at some of the Soviet infantry down below as well. Good shot at that range. The T-34 will stand no chance against the Pak-40. Now we have a... Is this an SU? This is an SU-85, I think, moving up. Or the 120. I think the 120 had the longer barrel? Or the longer gun? This T-34 is going to wreak havoc here inside the actual barn. Do we have any Panzerfausts around here? No, it looks... This guy's got a Panzerfaust. Please pull it up. Use it, my friend. Kameraden, bitte. You've got a T-34 behind you, and you've got an excellent opportunity to use that AT gun. Or AT rifle, whatever you want to call it. It's a Panzerfaust. It's a rocket launcher. No, but he's right now concerned for his own life. That T-34 isn't posing a immediate threat. I think the Soviet infantry creeping up on them here in the tall grass is more of a immediate concern. And we got this fight continuing there on the right side as well. We see more Soviet infantry advancing in the open. Oh, there we go. That was a nice hit. I think that was a Panzerfaust. Look at that. Soviet crew dismounting, being shot dead by the number of German soldiers holding the foxholes. They are fighting to the bitter end, and that is what is like the tragic bit about this. At this time, they've lost the war. In fact, I think early 1943, you could say the Germans had... You could almost say the Germans had lost the war at that time as well. Some say Battle of Stalingrad, some say Battle of Kursk. And interestingly enough, the Battle of Kursk isn't the greatest tank battle in history. It's actually the Battle of Prokhorovka or something like that, which is like the actual name of the tank battle itself. Kursk was just the larger picture or the larger vicinity, one could say, but yeah, Prokhorovka or something. Yeah. So this T-34 is pierced up behind the enemy lines. This one-man Pak-40 now is going to turn around. I think this will be the end of the T-34 if you can get it swung around in time. I don't see it ending any other way for this T-34 unless he can bring that gun to bear. That front shield is going to cover him from the MG. He's going to kind of like... No, I don't see any... I think this soldier realizes he could be killed from the very detonation he's about to cause. Not sure if he's struggling with the ammo types or being a lone gunner. But these packs are actually focusing on the KV-85 opposite the gully here. So that's why they weren't firing. I was wondering. They find it a more immediate target than the very T-34 in front of them, and it's funny, but that's the way the AI prioritize. It is a heavier tank, so it does make sense. Knock it out. This T-34 here doesn't seem to be overly interested in these Pak-40s anyway. How's the battle going over here? The Soviets have overwhelmed the trenches. A few more were killed out here in the open. This is looking good. Love these units. These are some new skins, by the way, added. As well as we've got some new Ushankas, like a larger variety of Ushankas. So RobZ is still being updated with skins and models, and it's nice to see. There we go. That T-34 is going to be knocked out now. But the German packs on this right side are defeated. Got another destroyed T-34. Well, you can already tell 0 German tanks have been lost today. We're looking at a few AT guns, but they are very, very much so cheaper and easier to get, I think, than a German tank, of course. That goes without saying. And I don't know if anyone wants to have a guess at the amount of German infantry here today, but there's about 2 per foxhole. There's been a few trench lines that number, I don't know, like half a dozen each. Maybe a bit more than that, roughly 10. So I think we're looking at under 100 men, maybe 60 or 70 Germans. The Soviets, on the other hand, have probably brought 4 or 5 times as many. And from what I can tell, there's still a lot of Germans fighting this fight right now. And we've lost a lot of Soviets. So this has been just, I think, a good representation of the Soviet summer offensive here during 44, the Operation Bagration. I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, but we're coming to a bit of a stalemate. But don't worry, this battle is going to continue in the next parts. So I do want to say the Soviets have taken the field, but all tanks seem to have been destroyed. Soviet infantry is still advancing, though, so they're going to clean up the remaining foxholes. Pretty soon we see a dead German soldier here just on the edge of it. It's pretty cool looking, not gonna lie. How are we doing here on this side? Well, there's a few remaining, but just a very small number. So the logical thing to do in a situation like this, right, would be to like, I mean, I'm doing this for the continuation of the next battle. So the ranking officer here, or NCO, has called the retreat of these guys to pull back, to abandon their positions. They've been overrun. They've lost one of their AT guns. The foxholes aren't as efficient anymore because the troops are being surrounded here. Soviet troops are crossing this gully. I think that's cool to see them fight another day. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching this battle. Let's have a quick look at casualties. We're going to go ahead and mark the Soviets in red and the... Oh, we still have... Oh, no. This poor guy's been left. We forgot about him. STG-44. Look, they're shouting. They're surrounding him. They know where he's at. He's got that grenade out. Is he going to throw it? Get it into the roof from above? No. Oh, he's shot through the window. That's a good shot. And the Soviets continue the assault. So we're going to jump straight to part 2 in the next video and continue this battle from where we left off. But before we do so, let's have a quick look at casualties. We're going to mark the Soviets in red and the Germans in yellow. Unfortunately, you can't see any tank casualties. You'll just have to look at the dozens of smoke plumes everywhere. But I think we've represented the kind of the way that the Soviets would punch through, use numbers, heavy armor, and just take a lot of losses doing so. Here's another T-34-85 on the move. But, I mean, there's just mostly Soviet casualties and destroyed Soviet tanks all around the place. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Look forward to part 2. My name's been Diplex, and I'll see you guys soon again. Ciao.